One moment. I'm going to go turn on a light.
All right. Welcome to the July 21, 2026 meeting of the Planning Board of the Town of Harpswell. My name is Dan Hobeck. I'm the chair of the board, and I'd like you to call this meeting to order. Please rise with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we have 4 items on the agenda this evening. One is a matter of old business that was carried over, and we have 3 items of new business. We have a thin group here of people who are here in person. We have another board member, Courtney Snellings, who's here by way of Zoom, and Jim, who is also here by way of Zoom. We're missing one of our regular board members, so Jim, as an associate member, will act as a voting member here this evening. Are you able to hear us okay over there?
There should be sound, Jim. Something's wrong.
He's muted.
I just tried calling Margaret. I think
Are you hearing us,
if
Courtney?
anybody can hear us in the room, wave. There we go. Okay, so they can hear us. It's a start, and I think I hear something in the room. So
Okay,
there we go.
okay.
Hello.
Perfect, all right. So we do have a quorum for this evening's meeting. I'd like to begin by introducing the board members and staff. 2 of the board members are here by way of Zoom. Courtney, would you start, please?
Yes. Hi, Courtney Snellings.
And Jim?
Jim Bobarski.
Debbie Forrester.
Dan Hobeck?
Heather Allen.
And our town planner. I'm speaking slowly to allow you to get to your seat.
Hi, I'm Margaret McIntyre, the town planner.
All right. One thing before we get started here, one of the biggest issues that we have in running the planning board is getting materials in on a timely basis. And our bylaws do provide deadlines for getting materials in. If the materials are not in on time, it places extra stress on our town planner and for her to get the information out to the board members. We're all volunteers, so we need some time to be able to review information as well. And we've been a little bit lax in terms of enforcing that in the past, but going forward, I just want to let everyone know that in fairness to everyone, if materials aren't here in a timely manner, figure that the matter will be continued to another meeting. All right, first item of business is old business. This is item 260603, Angela Bear, owner, Peter Spencer, Waterman Marine Group applicant, map 5, lot 59, 42 Hildreth Road. This is a consideration of an application for a new residential wharf in the Resource Protection District. As background, Angela Blair and Donald Beers own a lot on the Hildreth Road in Harpswell. They're proposing to install a dock consisting of a pier with a seasonal ramp and float to provide access to the water. The proposed dock consists of a set of 4-foot by 4-foot access stairs to a 4-foot by 8-foot landing and an additional 4-foot by 15-foot stairs to a 5-foot by 90-foot fixed pier, and a 3-foot by 32-foot seasonal ramp and a 10-foot by 20-foot seasonal float. The float will be stored off-site in an upland location in the off-season. In addition to other approvals, the proposed dock requires review and approval by the planning board under the shoreland zoning ordinance. Margaret, would you like to start, well, why don't we start, there was a second site visit that was performed there, right?
Yes, so this application, we visited it in June, and we looked at it from the upland. This time we went around, it's a fairly long dock and it abuts, it's 2 properties away from a town landing on the Hildreth Road. And so we went this time from the Hildreth Road town landing and walked along the shore to kind of look up at the proposed dock location. It is pretty steep. I don't see anybody here. Is anybody here from that, for that application? No, right. Interesting. It's pretty steep. And so we wanted to kind of get a view of it from the bottom looking up. It's kind of over a pretty hard-packed, big, large beach. And there's a property, 1 or 2 properties to the north that's severely eroded along the shore. And so it was nice to kind of see what you don't want it to look like versus how well vegetated this really steep lot is at this time.
Okay, there is no one here for this application? I don't think we can very well proceed without having the applicant here, so
Our bylaws require that that somebody's here to represent.
Yeah,
Unless
well,
somebody's on Zoom. Is anybody on Zoom for this application?
It's a couple people
Okay,
online.
seeing no one, I'm going to move that we continue this until our next regular meeting.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? I noticed that our 6th board member, Lori Falcone, is now on. She will be able to participate completely, but she will not be a voting member for purposes of this meeting. So all in favor of the motion?
Roll call.
Yes. Courtney?
Aye. Courtney
Jim?
Snelling.
Jim?
Aye.
Okay.
Debbie Forrester, aye.
Dan Hoback, aye.
Heather Allen, aye.
Okay, that was quick. The next,
So- I'll contact the applicant and hopefully get it back on for the August agenda.
okay, very good,
Thank you.
thank you. First item of new business then is item 260603, Kevin Lambert, owner, map 38, lot 108, 68 Tuttle Drive, consideration of the board's exercising jurisdiction for the review of an application to reconstruct a non-conforming structure. And let me pull that up here a minute. The general background is that this lot is located at 68 Tuttle Road. It is a 47,256 square feet or 1.08 acres. The lot is located in the Commercial District 1 and Commercial District 2 fishing districts and is subject to the Shoreline Zoning Ordinance. The lot is bounded by Mill Cove to the west and Tuttle Drive to the east. The setback requirements in the shoreline zone are 25 feet from all property boundaries and 75 feet from the highest astronomical tide. There are no road setbacks in the shoreline zone. The lot has 211 feet of frontage on Mill Cove. There appears to be approximately 145 by 163-foot building envelope on the property. The dwelling does not appear to be in the 100-year floodplain as mapped by FEMA and as amended by the town-wide changes made in 2024. The lot is developed with an approximately 1,404 square foot single-family dwelling and a 570 square foot garage, including an accessory dwelling unit. The structure is non-conforming in regards to the 75-foot setback from the upland edge of the coastal wetland. The replacement structure will remain non-conforming with regards to the highest annual tide setback with no increase in conformity. The applicant proposes to essentially double the footprint of the dwelling by expanding the structure to the southeast. The lot is essentially bisected by a gully which runs north-south through the property. A driveway was constructed to span the gully, but otherwise there appears to be two separate halves of the lot. The septic tank is located behind the dwelling, and the disposal field is located on an abutter's property to the south of the garage. The applicant indicated that the field will be replaced, but did not include the replacement design with the application. The system received a preliminary review, but was not inspected by a licensed septic inspector. The two-bedroom system does not appear to be adequately sized to handle wastewater from the dwelling unit and the accessory dwelling unit. So, first of all, do we have a report for the site visit on that property?
I wasn't there.
I was there. Heather was there.
Okay,
Courtney,
Courtney.
Lori, Codes was there. The applicant was there. And I don't think anybody else. I think this one is so important to have been there in person. Sorry, Dan. But it's really hard to understand just how kind of separate these two halves of the lot are based on this kind of flat site plan. I'll note that the applicant said that he had gotten like the gully reviewed by a wetland scientist, but didn't provide a report. So I'm not sure about the feasibility of filling in. I know obviously he doesn't want to fill in the wetland, but I don't know about the feasibility of kind of connecting the two halves of the property. But it's really is pretty separate.
All right,
It's really interesting.
all right. Would the applicant care to speak to what the proposal is? If you would get up there. Are you able to hear us well enough now, those of you who are on Zoom? Okay.
Yes.
All right, please give your name, please.
Hi, my name's Kevin Lambert. I own the property at 6H Hull Drive. Thank you for consideration of the application that I'm filing. What questions might you have for me?
Do you want to explain, will you start by explaining your project?
So my project, I purchased this property in January, and once I got possession of the property, we found there to be a gully running through the property heading towards the southeast boundary. So that property, we had a wetland delineation expert come out. He flagged it. We didn't go through the whole process of determining if it's a wetland or not, because I would prefer not to touch that, because it does drain to my neighbor's property. So with that being said, it gives us our building envelope, kind of limits us. So that's why I'm asking to be able to reconstruct an existing structure on the existing footprint over the hat line.
All right. Am I correct that there is not an existing foundation that you'll be using?
There's existing posts that we can't reuse structurally. They're not sound. The property is full of mold and is uninhabitable.
Okay. Margaret, you had, did you have some observations from having been there?
Yeah, it's just an interesting property because it kind of is like a camp. The whole lot is relatively kind of raw, and there's no lawn or anything. So it's hard to kind of imagine what his plan is. But there is a sizable building envelope on the lot. Sorry, there's a sizable building envelope on the lot.
Okay. I guess one of the questions that we always ask when there is a nonconformity is whether there is an opportunity, a reasonable opportunity to reconstruct or to put up a new structure in a way that there would be full conformity to the setback.
To setbacks. So there is an area that I can actually build another structure. It would require me to do a lot of tree cutting, and I'm trying to avoid that.
To do a what?
A lot of tree cutting, vegetation removal. and
Okay.
I'm trying to avoid that. It would also set me extremely close to my neighbor. His property is only 15 feet off our boundary line because it was existing property. So that would put me close to him, and we are in a very private setting down there. So I don't want to, go close to him. And if I can rebuild on the existing footprint and with an addition not within the hat line, right off of the property. Minimal tree cutting, very uninvasive to the lot. Because our goal here is to save the trees, save the vegetation, and not disturb as little as possible.
All right. Are there questions or comments from the board?
Courtney has a question.
Courtney?
Courtney always has a question. And I'm doing this by Zoom, which means I'm having to try to look at things online while I'm also looking at you. So, as I remember, you did want to expand this, but you do have it, half of the house, as I remember, the hat line goes through the house,
Yes.
right?
On a diagonal.
Right, so your idea was to rebuild exactly in the same place, but also to make an addition
Correct.
to the thing that you're.
Yes.
Mhm.
And if we were to tear down the house, rebuild completely behind the hat line, I can't do that, but then I'm going to encroach on my neighbors.
You'd have to build a smaller house. You couldn't have the same, you're gonna add a new area that's 40 by 35, and the dwelling right now is 40 by 20.
I'm going to expand a larger addition. My goal is to expand a larger addition behind the hat line while still using some of the remaining footprint within the hat line.
Just to clarify, by hat line, he's talking about the 75-foot setback.
Yeah.
From the hat line. The site plan that you submitted showing the expansion shows like the expansion really centered in the lot with probably 100 feet between you and your property line.
Yes.
So I wouldn't call that encroaching. I'd say encroaching would be within the 25-foot setback.
So the problem is the way the gully is shaped. If we tear down the original structure, I then have to push it back as far as possible because we do have a narrow, how should I say, access to a potential garage or something like that. By allowing that structure, it'll give me the opportunity to stay away from my neighbor and preserve the forest, the trees in between my property and his.
Okay. Any other comments or questions from the board?
I just think the ordinance is pretty clear that if the structure can be relocated within the setbacks, then it has to be relocated within the setbacks. And then it seems to me as if there's room to expand, then there should be room to make at least a reasonable attempt to make the structure more conforming.
So we have to decide if we're taking jurisdiction first, is that correct?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, we have two choices. We can either accept or decline to take jurisdiction, or, and once we make that decision, if we decide not to take jurisdiction, it just goes and is handled by the Code Enforcement Office. If we take jurisdiction, then we have to determine whether all of the requirements of the ordinance have been met. There seems to be, I understand what you're saying about not wanting to cut down trees and things like that, but one of the requirements of the ordinance is that if there is a reasonable alternative to having it within that 75 foot, we've got to follow that.
Okay.
So, we can go through this, but I think from what I'm hearing, and, I'm going to ask for input on this as well, is it would be helpful if we could find, is there a way in which you can do that, or at least reduce the amount within that 75 foot?
Probably not, based on the layouts we've done so far. If I were to rip down the existing structure, which I plan on doing regardless because it's uninhabitable,
Yeah,
there is that sensitive area in the property I'm really trying to stay away from because it does drain to the neighbor's property potentially. And we've looked at it, we've discussed it. I don't want to create problems down the road for them. It's wet only in heavy rains, that kind of thing, but filling it in was kind of not in the cards, if you want to use that term.
Yeah,
And by allowing me to maintain that footprint, it allows me to stay completely out of that area altogether, which I think is the best course here.
all right.
Is it reasonable to divert
What,
that?
if someone,
any way?
if someone, oh, I'm sorry, is that Jim?
Jim.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I was just gonna ask, is it reasonable to divert any of that away from the neighbor somewhere else?
No, it's not.
Okay.
It is reasonable to just not expand, and you can just pick up the footprint of the original structure and put it in the place where the expanded structure would be. You know, there is space for you. It appears that there's space to do that, and I don't think there's been evidence provided otherwise.
Okay, any other comments from the board as we look at this? You know, just from what you've said, you know, understand what you're trying to do, but you see the problem that we have is that if there is a reasonable way of reducing or eliminating the area within 75 feet, that's what the ordinance requires.
Okay. But wouldn't it also be reasonable to allow him to maintain that footprint? Then that way I have to not disturb any more of the property?
Margaret?
If you remove more than 50% of the structure, you have to make an attempt to make the replacement structure more conforming.
Okay.
So if you had, a tenth of an acre or something, and there was nowhere else to put it, or there was some sort of limiting factor, like, for instance, the next application we're gonna see, it's like a pie shape
Yeah.
lot. It's kind of site specific, but I think because you have so much space, there is, you haven't provided a rationale of why, like, there's nowhere possibly on the lot. Like, you could go back on the back side of the lot, there's, you kind of have to be
I actually
creative.
can't go on the back side of the lot.
Yeah,
because
I'm
it
not
is-
saying that you should,
it's
and I
di-
wouldn't want you
The way
to,
the
but-
survey and the property lines up there are diced up is
Yeah.
really not practical.
Yeah, I believe it, yeah,
And I think you saw the map.
yeah.
So the only location for me to put a new dwelling would be tucked in towards my neighbors, remove vegetation. We do have quite a bit of ledge back there, so it will be costly for me, which I understand that's not your concern.
But you're planning on putting a structure there anyways, I think.
I am planning on putting a structure there anyways, in the area where there is actually no trees. I think there's
Right.
one little birch tree. If I have to go further to the south, then I have to do a lot more clearing of the lot and the land. So my goal is to maintain the view from the water towards my property. One of.
All right. What is the thinking of the board at this point?
Specific, I don't know what you mean.
In regards to jurisdiction?
Yeah, if,
Yeah.
you in jurisdiction, okay.
Okay.
Yep.
I guess the first question is whether we should take jurisdiction of this. Margaret, do you have an opinion on that?
I mean, my opinion's already, that's my opinion.
What, that we should take jurisdiction?
I think that, yes, as the application is presented, I think you should take jurisdiction.
Okay. And then if we do take jurisdiction, I guess the question is whether we would ask you to go back and to look and see if there's any way that you can at least reduce somewhat the amount that's within the 75 feet.
I can reduce it a very small amount. The problem is if you have say this is the house right here, the property line runs, or the hat line runs just like that,
Right.
right through the house. So it's kind of a weird geometrical problem I have, where if I reduce a little bit this way, I then start just making this piece of pie smaller and smaller and smaller. Then we have a gully that runs right here, So then any access, future access to a new residence or addition starts shrinking, to a point where I'm stuck to just a walkway to the property.
Okay, so then the question, let's first determine whether we think that we should take jurisdiction of this matter. Or whether this is something that should be left to the code enforcement officer. It certainly sounds from what the planner has talked about that there are some things that we need to consider and make a judgment on. So I would entertain a motion to exercise jurisdiction. Courtney moves.
I move that we exercise jurisdiction.
Is there support?
I'll second.
All right, supported by Heather. Roll call vote. Courtney?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Debbie Forrester, aye.
Dan Hoback, aye.
Heather Allen, aye.
All right. So now that we have taken jurisdiction, the question is whether we believe that that the requirements are met, and that due to the building envelope, that there really isn't a reasonable way to relocate the proposed structure to decrease the amount of property that is within the 75-foot. That, yeah. Courtney?
Yeah, I have a question. I know this is unusual, but is there validity for our going back to the site? I know we can't always keep going back to the sites, but I'm just wondering if we were to walk the site and see what the possible building envelopes would be. I mean, we like to be able to work with the applicant on these things, but I mean, and I know that's unusual. We usually do not go back to a site. Is there any reasonable idea that that might be something that we should do?
We always can.
Pardon me?
That's always a possibility, yeah.
Yeah, I think there are enough questions that are being raised about what would have to be torn down and how close you are to the neighbor to give you the greatest possibility of having your application accepted. I think it probably makes some sense to do that. What is the thinking of the board about continuing this to the next meeting and going out and taking another look at the site? Yeah, Courtney?
I think that would give the applicant the best chance of possibly finding a spot for it, or our seeing that there is no place for it. And I think that would give him more opportunity to get closer to what he's looking for. And it would also satisfy us, since we're trying to the best of our ability to follow the ordinance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to note that the addition that's going to be put on that is almost entirely behind the setback line is larger than the dwelling that exists right now. So it's not that it's not possible to have a house that fits inside the space that's there. It's more whatever the design of the house is that the applicant wants to put there. So, I mean, it would, you could take the house that's there right now and move it into the new spot and be completely within the ordinance.
Okay. All right. I think you've got an idea now of what the concerns are that the board has.
Yeah.
Would you be amenable to us continuing this and taking another site visit look at it?
Yeah, I have no problem with that. Just
right.
let me know when. And
All
then
right.
I think with the original site visit, the people who were there actually saw what I was trying to get to.
Right.
That being on site is completely different from looking at it on a flat piece of paper,
Oh, absolutely.
night and day.
Yeah. And I think that'll give the opportunity for a couple of the other board members who weren't able to be there, myself included, to get a better idea about what other options. And you have some idea now from the discussion about what our concerns are, and we can address those when we reconvene. Again, when we do the site visit, we're not going to be doing, the purpose of the site visit is not to be making decisions while we're out there, but to just get an idea based on what you've presented and what questions have been raised, particularly by the town planner, how we can resolve those at the next meeting.
Yeah, the other issue that I will have is with my new septic design. If I do have to push my property further away, where the way it's designed now, and where I could actually put a new field or wastewater field, I kind of have to stay with what's there. So
All right.
pushing the house way farther back, I might limit the design of a septic system as well. That's my other concern.
All right. Very good.
Do we want anything for the gully? Like you said, you started, I'm just making sure that we aren't asking him for more when he comes back. Do we need any more information about that?
You saw it, right? You were there? I saw the garage from the road. You couldn't see down, so,
No, you'd really have to walk
yeah.
down
So
to
I
get the
don't
feel of
know
it.
if, I mean, is it a wetland?
We don't know because we missed the window as far as doing all the testing that we need.
Sorry to interrupt, you're talking about vernal pool testing.
Vernal pool testing.
I think that we're confusing the terms here.
Yes,
Is it a wetland, or is it a vernal pool, or is it both?
unknown.
Okay.
And I don't want to go digging it up. I don't want to even touch it if I don't have to. That, yeah, I think is the best course of action.
Sure.
Leave it as it is. To the property to the north of me, they probably do have vernal pools there. Do they feed into my property? We don't think it actually does unless there's a significant amount of rain. So if I don't have to go in there, might as well not.
All right. Do you have any other questions for us for clarification before we
Yeah, I'm good.
move to continue?
Yeah, we'll
I-
continue it.
I think that we need to be really clear about what we're asking for him for the next meeting. What are we at? We're gonna go see the site. Do we need more information? Do we want him to stake out the building, the proposed building area for us to see while we're there? I think that that would be helpful, so we see the existing structure plus where the expansion's gonna be, I think would be helpful.
Yeah.
Like, what additional info are we gonna get between now and the next meeting to help us make our decision?
And quite honestly, I would like to see some good faith effort to really look at this and to see if this is really the only option that exists. And I don't, I mean, that has to come from you, that I don't know who's helped you with these plans, and if, you can talk to that person about how you get your construction behind the line or more behind it than it is right now. I kind of feel like it was there and it's like, let's just go ahead and approve something more rather than really working to see how we can meet the ordinance.
All right. Are there any other discussion before I present a motion to continue? Yes, Courtney?
I just have a question. You're referring to construction. I don't have any drawing of what this is supposed to look like, just a set of dimensions. Is that what you're talking about, Debbie?
That's all I have is the dimensions on this map that I don't know if I got it when I
Map.
got this one. It came with the motions.
So the applicant's plan is to first receive approval for the location of the house before he finalizes his house plans. So we will get the structure design, but we have to agree on a location first.
And we did do
Yeah, I
that
was-
recently on another application.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember the address, but.
Yeah, I was just
Oh, boy.
confused for a moment. I thought maybe I didn't have something. So,
I mean,
sorry.
So Margaret, I think your idea to have things staked out is a
Yeah.
good one.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
I'm
All right.
okay with staking things out. I didn't want to go through a whole set of plans, whole set of designs, waste a ton of time and a ton of money for you guys to say, sorry, throw them in the garbage.
Absolutely.
And that would just been a big waste.
No, we get that.
Yeah. And then that's what I talked about with Margaret when we had our meeting, saying,
Yeah.
why would I plant a whole house if I don't even know if I can build it?
Right.
Yeah, it's really actually helpful for us, I think, to be able to go through it in this order.
And the property, if anyone does want to walk it, if you're down there, just go right for it.
You're okay with 5, just, because I drove it, but I didn't look like anyone was there. I
Yeah,
didn't.
just go right down, the property's vacant.
Don't go in the house.
So the proposed site visit will be August 11th, around lunchtime. It kind of depends on what we get for applications, but it'll be Tuesday, the 11th, I think. But if it's anything different, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
All right. Then I move that we continue this matter to our regular August meeting, and that in the meantime, that we do a second site visit on August 11th, as that's scheduled somewhere around noon time. Is there support for that?
Yes,
Second.
Yep, everybody.
I'll second that.
Okay, we've got seconds all around here. Okay. Okay. Courtney?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Debbie Forrester, aye.
Dan Hoback, aye.
Heather Allen, aye.
Okay. Thank you very much. This matter will be continued to our next meeting, and at that point, we'll get, one of the things that happens here is we have to take a very close look at what our ordinances are and to see what is the most reasonable, how closely we can come to meeting the full ideas of developing or redeveloping Harpswell back of the 75-foot setback. So thank you very much for that. The next item on the agenda is item 260604, Robert and Christine Cahill, map 50, lot 98, 187 Indian Rest Road. Consideration of the board's exercising jurisdiction for the review of an application to reconstruct a non-conforming structure. As background, the lot located at 187 Indian Rest Road is 12,421 square feet or 0.28 acres. It is located primarily in the Commercial Fishing 2 district, with the southern portion of the lot in the Interior district. The dwelling is in the CF2 zone and is subject to the shoreline zoning ordinance. It's bounded to the south by Indian Rest Road and to the north by the paper street known as Abenaki Road. Okay. The setback requirements for the shoreline zone are 25 feet from all property boundaries, 75 feet from the highest astronomical tide. There are no road setbacks in the shoreline zone. The triangle-shaped lot is approximately 81 feet at the north end and tapers down to 30 feet wide at the south end. There is a small triangle-shaped area on the property that meets the building setbacks. The lot is developed with a single-family cottage, which was built in 1960. The structure is non-conforming with regard to the northerly, easterly, and westerly property line setbacks. The replacement structure will be reconstructed in essentially the same location with a small decrease in the nonconformity of the building. The replacement structure will be 20 feet from the westerly property boundary, 23 feet 9 inches from the eastern property boundary, and conforming to the northerly and southerly setbacks. The dwelling is expanding within the buildable area from 1,122 square feet to 1,146 square feet, an increase of 723 square feet. The application includes a proposal to remove 723 square feet of impermeable lot coverage, partially to account from the expanded footprint of the dwelling. Given the lot's sustained slope, removing part of the driveway and parking area close to the dwelling appears to be an impractical suggestion. Also, note 8 on the survey notes that this area quote, may have ripened into a prescriptive easement over the locus parcel per statute. The applicant proposes to take advantage of the paper road and to use the setback from their portion of the road instead of the setback from the property boundary. The site plan shows a 25-foot setback from each. The applicant provided a legal opinion which justified the applicant's ownership of a portion of the paper road. The Maine Municipal Association's legal department reviewed the legal opinion and is in agreement with the Cahill's own 15 feet of the paper road, and that the deed does not need to be amended to prove such ownership. The applicant intends to replace the entire existing septic system and included the septic design in the application. The disposal field will be located partially in the paper road and partially on land owned by the Indian Rest Village Improvement Society. The applicant provided approval from the Indian Rest Village Improvement Society for the location of the field in this property. For the planning board's actions, first is to determine whether we wish to take jurisdiction over the application or allow the code enforcement to retain jurisdiction. And the second action is contingent on the board obtaining jurisdiction and then reviewing the application according to the appropriate ordinances.
If I may, I sent out some new draft motions today that just include a little bit of what you said. There were extra copies. If we need more copies, we can do them. And the planning board members do have this updated. It was just a little bit of that information that you just read.
Right.
None of the findings have been amended, just so everybody knows.
All right, could we have a report on the site visit?
We went there. The lot is a little bit steep. It really slopes pretty steeply down to the property. There were 2 or 3 abutters there.
I think 2.
2.
2 abutters. Yep.
Yeah, it's an interesting area. It's really not clear where all the property boundaries are because of the way that the lots are set up. There's some where the garage is up by the road, and then there's this road in between this lot and the lot to the east. And it just is kind of a little open area.
Okay. Any other observations from the site visit? All right. All right, could we hear from the applicant about what the proposal is here?
Yes.
Hi there, my name is Colin Hull. I am an attorney speaking on behalf of the applicant tonight. They're here as well, so they can speak to things that I don't know about. There's plenty of that, I'm sure, but I mostly wanted to just comment and make a few points related to the greatest practical extent analysis, so that hopefully that can be helpful for you all. I think it's important when looking and considering this lot and this replacement to think that, or just to acknowledge that this is part of this subdivision that dates back to the 1900s. There's a bunch of weird small lots. Most of, or many of the properties are not sort of in conformance with setbacks from property line boundaries. And the design that was proposed, or that is proposed here, the applicant went through a lot of steps to sort of try and make sure that it minimizes nonconformance with the setbacks. And I think the design that's been reached minimizes those setbacks to the maximum practical extent practicable. So that's where we're at. I think there's a couple of things that they did that sort of support that view. They took out some of the encroachment in the sort of southwestern corner. They shifted the property up a little bit northwards. They reduced the nonconformity on the western side of the setback. And they are, in general, just making a more compact and efficient structure. It's going from a 2-story building to a 1.5-story. They've reduced the square footage of the nonconforming area by 46 square feet. And they took into consideration wanting to avoid just additional disturbance of the lot, additional soil disturbance. So they arrived at this particular layout in this weird pie-shaped lot, and this represents, the greatest practical extent. So that's just the general points. I'm also happy to answer questions on this concept related to paper streets, if there's confusion about it, because it's kind of an interesting legal concept, but I'll open it up to you all.
I think that would be very helpful for you to discuss the impact of the paper road, because that is something that is generally not well understood.
Sure,
And the
yeah.
fact that you issued an opinion and the state also commented on that, it might be helpful for those who are not familiar with the concept to see how it applies here.
Right, so there's a couple of main state statutes at play, but basically, when there's a recorded subdivision plan, on those subdivision plans often exists what are called paper streets, depicted sort of roadways that may or may not be built. In the case here, the paper street is Abenaki Way, a right-of-way that was sort of envisioned on the initial subdivision plan, but was never actually developed. And it was never accepted by the town. So when a road or a right-of-way gets accepted by the town, it becomes, a public road. That never happened. And so an unaccepted way laid out on a recorded subdivision plan is deemed conveyed to an abutter to that right-of-way, unless for some reason the original grantor of the subdivision reserved that right reserve that right, like, that this would remain property of the subdivision. There was no reservation here. And then another main statute sort of clarifies what are sort of the public and private rights of other parties. It says that public rights terminate after 20 years if it's not been accepted by the town. So it doesn't become a public street, basically. And then private rights to the right-of-way terminate after 20 years if there's been no construction to that construction of that right-of-way. The Abenaki Way was never constructed. It was never accepted by the town. And so what the Maine Supreme Court has said is that ownership in fee goes to the abutting property owner to the center line of that road. So that essentially expanded the property to what is the center line of Abenaki Road. And that would apply to other abutters potentially in the subdivision in that Abenaki Road. But for the purposes of setbacks, now the line for what's the acceptable setback has then shifted a little bit to what is the center line of 25 feet for the center line of Abenaki Road. So I hope that clarifies a little bit just what that is. Basically, in Maine, there's all sorts of weird subdivisions and streets and weird sized lots. Developers at the turn of the 20th century were doing things, but not necessarily considering their impact for property owners later and the need to go figure out who owns what right of way. The Maine legislature just decided if it's not been developed, if it's not been accepted, it just becomes the property owner. It goes to the abutting property owner. So hopefully that clarifies for everybody, the planning board here, that just a little bit about the paper streets.
Thank you. Questions from the Board of Council? Yeah, Courtney?
This is possibly more of a comment based on the site visit. I understand that you're saying, sir, that the property owners own to the middle of Abenaki Road, correct? So they're asking us to let them do that, and you're saying that that is fine. During the site walk, I seem to remember one of the reasons for the right of way, paper road, if you will, was for lot owners to be able to get down to the water because this is a very unusual subdivision. I believe you said something about Margaret, that the subdivision itself owns the frontage to the water. And so I'm wondering whether the other half of the paper street, the whatever the unaccepted paper street, is still available for the other residents to be able to get down to the piece of property that then fronts on the water. Because now they have, what, 15 feet, I guess, that's left if we tell these folks that, yes, they may, fine, they can use that section. There is still half of the paper road left for the other residents to be able to use. Do I have that right?
I think I'm not sure if I want to speculate as the origin of the Abenaki Road at the turn of the 20th century, but I think there's at least access to the water would be controlled by the HOA, I guess, that owns it, or the association that owns it, and so that's sort of between that association and the residents as to how the access works. And it really, for the purposes of this application, it's just about the boundary to the property line.
About the setbacks, kind of.
I think, in a place, Courtney, where there was abutters on either side of the paper road, the abutters split the road. And so in this case, the abutter is the association. But
Right.
but it kind of essentially extinguishes the road, and one abutter gets half and the other abutter gets half. I think that's what she's asking.
Yeah, exactly. I guess, yeah, ownership would then go to the owner on the other side, which is the association. So now the association controls that half of what was the former Abenaki Way.
Thank you.
I would also just add, those of you that weren't on the sidewalk, it's pretty cleared. Like it's not like the road has trees or anything. There's no road. It's just kind of a grassy field. I don't know if that's helpful or not.
I do have a question about, you talked a little bit about private rights to use that space. Can you explain a little bit? Or will the association, like, we are not proposing to build in that space. We're just going to using that for a setback. But if somebody did want to put something in that space, they're talking about putting in a septic, but also, does everyone still have the right to use that paper road? How does that work?
Any private rights that may have existed for the right-of-way, as initially envisioned, it's no longer a right-of-way, basically. The right-of-way is gone. It's up to the homeowners association or the association about access. I'm not sure what agreements exist. We may have someone who works for or is associated with the association here, and they could potentially speak to that. But I think just as an important, it's an interesting question, and the association's granted rights to use the septic or to situate the septic on the association's property. So there's agreement there. There's agreements being reached between property owners and the association. But
Okay, Jim?
Yeah, I was going to ask, the half that isn't being claimed here on Abenaki Road, is that reasonably walkable if later on it was decided that they do want to make that, like a walkable path or some sort of access, through there? Is there a reasonable amount of space to make it walkable?
oh yeah.
I can answer that.
You gotta come to the
Please.
mic.
Okay.
In front of our property.
Would you state your name, please?
Bob Cahill, I'm the owner of the
Okay.
property. It is walkable in front of most of the lots, but as Abenaki extends all the way to the beginning of, it is, over 125 years, there's been trees and shrubs have grown. So not all of Abenaki is walkable, but most of it is.
Okay.
I would just add from the site walk, especially in front of your property, is because that's where the local, like, community dock is. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
Margaret, it says here in what Dan read, that the Maine Municipal Association is in agreement that they own 15 feet of the road and the deed does not need to be amended to prove such ownership. So whether somebody decides in another 50 years they want to use the road is kind of moot.
There is no road.
Right, so I'm just saying that the paper road,
Yeah.
that it sounds like the legal opinion is that they actually own the road and the deed doesn't need to be amended to prove it, so.
The guidance that we were given, which is, I don't think anybody's really satisfied with, but it said basically, like, state law says you own it, you don't need to have your deed reflected because the law already says that you own it. And I think that's a little hard for everybody to digest because it's not what the deed says. And they're not necessarily the ones on the tax bill for it. So I just feel like it's a little kind of an unsatisfying answer, even though it seems like obviously it's a correct one.
Well, I think we'd have an entirely different question if the paper road had been created 5 years ago, rather than the fact that nothing had been done with it for 125 years.
Right, and one of the Maine state statutes puts a 20-year time limit on these things. So, if you create a subdivision and there's a paper road on there, there's like a 20-year period in which to construct, or for a town to accept it for that to become an actual public street or a permanent right-of-way.
All right.
I
I'm
have
gonna,
one question, and you don't have to answer it if you don't want to, but there's this process, the 3301 form or something that I think the owner talked to the assessor about, and it's typically the way that we go about, or owners in the town go about extinguishing a paper road, which is you get everybody in the subdivision to sign off on it, and everybody kind of signs off on their rights, and the two abutters split the road. Why didn't this project not have to go through that process? Can you explain that? Why did we not have to fill out that form and get everybody to sign off on it?
Because the process happened so long ago, it's an automatic thing,
Okay.
is my understanding.
And that's 20 years? Is that so long ago, or is it 1900? I mean, this is from 1900.
Yeah, the 23 MRS 3031 is the 20 years as it relates to other property rights. The other statute involved, 33 MRS 460, relates to like your fee ownership of it. And that basically said, after 1987, any paper street that existed before 1987, if it was unaccepted and laid out on a recorded subdivision plan, that then goes to the abutter, basically as ownership of that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
all right, thank you.
I'll sit down, but if there's more questions about the greatest practical extent analysis, I'm happy to answer those as well.
All right, what we'll do is now the board will talk about the application generally to see if as a general matter, to determine whether we want to exercise jurisdiction. But before we do that, but after that, before we make that decision, we also want to have an opportunity for any abutters or other interested people who have a comment on it to get on the record for it. This is kind of an unusual one. I think the legal issue's fairly well settled now, but we want to make sure everybody who is here has an opportunity to be heard on the application as well. So any questions or comments on the board, from the board on the application itself? All right, hearing none. Is there anyone from the community who would like to be heard? This is a prime opportunity, and there's no such thing as a dumb question or comment. We're really interested in hearing anything that you wish to say, because like I said, this is really kind of an unusual situation. I hear none.
Well, they can always pipe up later if they want to.
Well, it depends on whether we accept jurisdiction or not.
I will say that I had a couple questions for the applicant after we received the application. Obviously, the first thing that we tried to resolve was this legal question. We got advice from a municipal association. They, would have given us a written legal opinion, but they basically had no notes. They were really satisfied with the opinion that provided by the applicant and didn't really have any comments for us. So that was the first thing we tried to answer. And then the second thing was this idea of setbacks and lot coverage. It appeared from what they gave us that the property was getting more conforming, but I wanted it in numbers so we could have a measurable distance. It was 18 feet from the line, and now it's 15 feet or whatever. And then it came because the structure's footprint is getting larger, even though it's getting more conforming because it's kind of expanding in that little triangle buildable area. What I thought was interesting is that there's going to be more lot coverage, and I think it's important for the board to see that. They're proposing to remove kind of the bottom half of the driveway to combat the lot coverage. I don't think it's right for the board to approve the relocation of a structure knowing it's going to cause this new non-conforming condition of too much lot coverage. So now they are proposing to remove kind of the bottom half of the driveway. Did you see that, Dan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is this something that would require additional information from the applicant?
I just think it's something that it should be taken into consideration, the board shouldn't approve this relocation of the non-conforming structure, knowing that it's gonna cause too much lot coverage. So their solution is to take out part of the driveway. But I think if you were there and you saw how steep the road is, I think, to me, it seems a little impractical to expect them to take out their driveway and their parking spot. It's really steep.
Okay.
It is really steep.
And then they talk about this note 8 on the survey talks about a prescriptive easement, and I didn't know with the legal question, do they have the right, if there's this prescriptive easement over their property, do they even have the right to take out that driveway, which is now a road? So, just some general thoughts. I was just reviewing that portion of it today, and kind of all those thoughts came up, so they didn't make it into my memo.
Okay.
Sorry, that's a lot.
Well, is there, okay, I guess the first question is, yes, Courtney?
Wait, did you just get this information today or like a couple of days ago, Margaret?
Yesterday, they sent it Friday afternoon maybe, so I looked at it yesterday.
Okay, so there really was not a lot of time. It's like what the chair was saying a little earlier, was getting the information in time enough to have it so that we can make a proper decision.
Correct.
Yeah, I only saw it like 5 minutes before the meeting.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess the first question is whether we wish to take jurisdiction. I'll entertain a motion to that effect.
I'll motion
To take
to
jurisdiction?
take it under
Is
jurisdiction.
that it,
Yep.
Jim?
Yep.
Is there support?
I'll second it.
Courtney seconded it.
Oh,
I just
okay.
watched her.
Any discussion about taking jurisdiction? If not, Jim? Jim?
Jim, aye. James, aye.
Courtney?
Brittany Snelling's aye.
Aye.
Heather?
Debbie Forrester, aye.
Dan Hoback, aye.
Heather Allen, aye.
Okay, we have accepted jurisdiction. I think this is one of those cases in which we have received information without enough time for the board to have time to adequately consider it. So,
Could I respond to just whatever, anything related to the sort of prescriptive easement, I think is not necessarily relevant to, it's about setbacks from property lines, is really what the analysis is about. And that analysis, I think, has been submitted to you all with sufficient time. So I think, I mean, I guess I just wouldn't I don't understand necessarily the planning staff's sort of concern related to this new information, only because I don't think it affects the applicable standards for approving. That's I guess just one note I have, that I'm not sure if it's the fact that there might be a question about the existence of a prescriptive easement, I don't think is relevant to your all approval or not of this site.
all right. Margaret?
I think that looking at their proposal as a whole, now they're saying, well, we're gonna take out 3/4 of the driveway. I think the owner has something to say about it. Yeah.
So, certainly I apologize for getting that information over to you late, but it was not something that we were aware of that was needed, right? A permeable surface analysis and whatnot. So we had ours done in accordance with the designer. And so an analysis like this needs to be done by, I would think, a surveyor and maybe even an engineer. Our commitment is that we will get that analysis done, and we will make it our best effort to come up with a solution that gets us to the number that we need, right, from a percentage standpoint, right? That's what we're focused on, this percentage of impermeable lot, impermeable surface now compared to when we do the addition. We are committed to that. But I got to tell you, not knowing the allowance of the setbacks, which is really what we're here to talk about, the greatest practical extent, that whatever we end up is going to impact that analysis. So I would ask that let's make that determination, and then we will go out and have that survey done and get an engineer out, because when you talk about the driveway is flat. Our driveway is flat, and we also have a driveway up at the top that is also flat that we didn't put into this analysis. I'm extremely confident that when we do this analysis, we will be under whatever that percentage requirement is, no doubt about it. But I do believe that making the determination before that, in terms of the greatest practical extent, is necessary.
So what I think I'm hearing you say is that if the planning board were to approve the expansion of the structure and the relocation of it, that is going to increase your lot coverage, which is not allowed by ordinance, but you would work with the code office to agree on a way to decrease your lot
Right,
coverage.
there's permeable pavers, there's a lot of different solutions.
If they're allowed by the ordinance.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
right, if
Yeah.
allowed, but there are solutions.
If you think there's a solution, then you can work, I think that,
I mean,
I think it'd be in the planning board's purview to say, we approve the relocation, and you'll work with codes to talk about the lot coverage
Right.
issue.
Okay, do we have the information here to make findings of fact?
I did my best. I do think it's important for the planning board to make this determination because it has such a big impact on all the neighbors in this neighborhood. every neighbor is going to be looking at this and saying, well, now what can I do with my lot? And so I want there to be really clear findings so that everybody, should there be somebody who wanted to appeal, that they have some findings to appeal.
Okay. Then why don't you go through and make recommended findings verbally,
Okay.
and then we can discuss them as a whole, and then maybe we can get done with this tonight yet. That would always be the goal. We really don't like to continue things. All right.
All right. Findings of fact. The setbacks are 25 feet from the property boundaries and 75 feet from the upland edge of the coastal wetland. There's a small triangle-shaped area on the property that meets the building setbacks, approximately 52 feet wide at the northern end of the property. The replacement structure will remain nonconforming in regards to the east and west property line setbacks. The lot slopes gently from the Indian Rest Road north towards the water. The replacement septic system will be partially located on a different parcel, map 50, lot 176, owned by the Indian Rest Association Improvement Society. Little, if any, vegetation will be removed as part of the project. The applicant has demonstrated ownership of a portion of the Abenaki Road, a paper street abutting the northerly boundary of the property. Those would be my findings.
Okay. Is there any discussion of the proposed findings?
No, I mean, those all make sense. I mean, I understand the impermeable surface piece. The house, what they want to do there makes sense to me. I realize that the lot is a whole, it's not just the house. So, yeah, the house I'm good with. The implications of the others, pieces of it for the ordinance are different. If that's something that codes can just work with, I don't have a problem with
You
that.
can make that a condition of approval, I think.
Okay, let's do that. Is there any other questions about the proposed findings from the planner? Hearing none, I move that the planning board accept the findings of fact as outlined by the planner, showing that the application meets the requirements to the greatest possible extent.
Do you want me, can I add, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I would add some conditions of approval.
Well, that's not the conditions of approval, that's just
Right.
findings of fact.
Oh, right. Oh, gotcha, I see what you're saying.
Okay. Is there support to that?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Courtney?
Courtney Salings, aye.
Jim?
Jim Babarski, aye.
Debbie Forrester, aye.
Dan Hoback, aye.
Heather Allen, aye.
Okay. Now, we just have conclusions of law with the additional conditions. Would you read those for us?
I'm not sure that I'm satisfied with what I drafted earlier. I would start with, this approval is based on the approved plans and on all submissions and information provided by the applicant at final approval, whether referenced in any findings or conditions of approval. Any variation from the plans, proposals, and supporting documents except de minimis changes as determined by the town planner that do not affect approval standards is subject to the review and approval of the planning board prior to implementation. And maybe number 5, the applicant will work with the code enforcement officer to, what are they gonna do? To work with the code enforcement officer to, I'm trying to say this in an intelligent way, sorry.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes, please.
Ensure that permeability standards in the codes are met?
Ensure that the applicant will work with the code enforcement office to ensure that the permeability standards in the shoreline zoning ordinance are met.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. She changed the shoreline.
Okay. I move that we accept the conclusions of law as just read by the town planner.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Let's call for a vote. Courtney?
Courtney Stallings, aye.
Jim?
Jim Babarski, aye.
Debbie Forrester, aye.
Dan Hobeck, aye.
Heather Allen, aye.
All right, that motion passes 5-0. You are ready to proceed? I want to just, as a personal matter, thank council for the excellent work on that. We've learned an awful lot about paper roads, and there are a bunch of us who have paper roads now in other places of town that I'm sure will benefit from that analysis. All right, the final item on the agenda tonight is item 260606, Linda Lee Barton, owner, John Dietland, applicant, map 1, lot 5, 12 Schofield Place. This is a site plan review, consideration of an application for a new farm stand. Let me pull that puppy up here a minute. All right, here's the background. Linda Lee Barton owns Lot 5 on tax map 1. The lot contains 25 acres with 21 acres in Harpswell and the remainder in Brunswick. The lot has 1,605 feet of frontage on Harpswell Neck Road and no frontage on Schofield Place. The lot is primarily in the interior zone with the shoreline and shoreline residential and a small portion of the northeast corner in resource protection. The property is developed with a Americanig farm, half of which is on this lot. Half of us on lot 1, on map 1, lot 3. Access to the farmhouse is by Schofield Place, which is on map 1, lot 3. The farmhouse is on the National Register of Historic Places. The property hosts Nance's Seafood Nance's Seafood Shanty, a seasonal takeout-style eating establishment. The business received planning board approval in 2004. What the applicant is seeking is site plan review approval for a farm stand, including after-the-fact permission for an 8-foot by 12-foot timber frame structure. Agriculture is a use which is allowed in the interior zone without a permit. It's defined in the definitions addendum as the production, keeping, or maintenance for sale or lease of plants and/or animals, including but not limited to forage and sod crops, grains and seed crops, dairy animals and dairy products, poultry and poultry products, livestock, fruits and vegetables, and ornamental and greenhouse products. Agriculture does not include forest management and timber harvesting activities. While the definition is broad, it does not appear to include the sale of products which are generated by the farming activity. The majority of the property is enrolled in the farmland current use program under state statute. Harpswell's assessing agent has confirmed that this project is in compliance with the program and will not jeopardize the property's classification. All right. Review of the site visit?
The site visit was great. We'll note, I think we noted already that the structure's already built, so we got to see it in its resting place. There were no abutters there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is the applicant here? Yeah. Okay.
I'm John Nealon, the applicant.
All right. We just wanted to make sure you were here. I would have hated to go through it and not see you here.
He's been here soaking up all this knowledge about paper roads.
Right.
and that.
That's right. Okay.
Count-
So the first thing we have to do is to talk about conformance with submission requirements. The planner reviewed the application for completeness and submitted a completeness review dated July 16, 2026. Based on that review and supporting documentation on the record, the following waivers could be granted. 14.1.8 deed covenants, 14.2.9 existing surface water drainage, 14.2.11 nearest fire hydrant, 14.3.2 proposed surface water drainage, 14.3.7, and 14.3.13 stormwater erosion and sedimentation control. So based on those recommendations from the planner, I move that the planning board find that the application of John Dietland for a new farm stand at 12 Schofield Place meets the submission requirements of section 14 of the site plan review ordinance, subject to the granting of 6 submission waivers which are incorporated into this motion by reference. Is there a second?
Sure, I'll second that.
Any discussion? Courtney?
No, Courtney Snelling's aye.
Jim?
Jim Bavarsky, aye.
Debbie Forrester, aye.
Dan Hoback, aye.
Heather Allen, aye.
Okay. So where we're moving to now is to the findings of fact in conformance with the site plan review ordinance. And they are, excuse
Dan,
me.
I'll say that my only real question about this application was whether or not the structure met the setbacks. I think the rest of it is really pretty obvious, and so I think when we go through these findings of fact, that's gonna be, I think, the only one that my draft motion showed that I had questions on.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is move that the findings of fact be approved and incorporated by reference, take a second, and then we will discuss before voting on it. So I move that the planning board finds that the application of John Dietland for a new farm stand at 12 Schofield Place meets the following approval standards based on the following findings of fact, which are incorporated into the motion by reference. And that will be sections 15.1, excuse me, through section 15.22. Is there a second to that motion? Just to get it on the floor.
I think Courtney seconded.
Did you second it, Courtney?
Yes, maybe I should have taken longer to give you a little.
That would have been really helpful. Okay, thanks. It's been moved in second, so now we can discuss it. Would you,
You want to go get some water or something?
I've got something to drink here. I just,
Trusty Diet Coke here.
We don't have we have X's for whether or not it meets the dimensional requirements. And among other things, I'll point out that there are 2 maps, and one has the thing square to Harpswell Neck Road, and the other one has it as an angle, so I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be looking at as far as the location. I will note that it is not square to the road, it is at an angle.
Were you at the site visit?
I drive by it every day.
Good for you. Good for
I'm
you.
very
Okay.
familiar with it. And there are no, here it just says XX feet from the edge of Harpswell Neck Road,
That's
and,
because I didn't have the answer, and I was hoping that somebody would provide it to us.
yeah, I kind of, I can't tell from the maps.
I know from measuring from the closest edge of the farm stand towards the abutting, where the property line is with the abutters with Eric and Larkin Soul, that goes more or less up the middle of the driveway. That was, if I recall, I know it was over 20 feet. It was 27 feet and change, if I recall correctly. The gentleman from Codes were there. I think that's what they were measuring out at the site visit. I don't know for sure. But I do know that
So-
was over.
So that would be from the southern property boundary.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
But, I mean, we have this map on graph paper with ruler lines, and it shows the farm stand as square to the road, which it is not. And then we have this one here that's a sketch that has other information. So I'm not clear on what we're supposed to
The one on
use.
graph paper, the only reason was because the application I was using, I wasn't able to angle that, so that was probably user error with the graph paper. One for why I wasn't able to do it as more accurately as I should have been.
Okay, but I have both, and it's not clear which is the one that we're supposed to use. So I'm just saying that, I mean,
So I went do kind of a deep dive on the Schofield Farm property, and I looked up the seafood shanty approval, and I included it in the application material and the original notice of decision showing the planning board approving that project. It looks like your farm stand is within what was that approved, the approved like parking area.
Okay.
Did you see that?
I did not, I
I can show it to you.
breezed through the materials, but I didn't look at that part.
I feel like our questions would be answered if, oh, here it is.
Okay.
I feel like our questions would be answered if we could see your farm stand on this approval.
On that approval, okay.
Do you think that would be helpful? Did you see this, Heather?
Yeah, that would certainly accurately put it in context.
Right, because then it would be like kind of referencing the original approval and then adding the second approval on top of it.
Right.
So is that what you're recommending, is that be sketched on there, or?
I think it would be really helpful so everybody would understand the record of what existed, and, because then you're not kind of stacking approvals on top of each. You're not making two separate approvals for the same location. It would be
Right.
like, because it sounds like you guys are all gonna share the parking anyways.
Yes.
Your impact on the parking lot is so minimal,
Right.
yeah. And hers is seasonal, and
Mm-hmm.
your big thing is selling apples when that stand is probably closed.
Right, yeah, yeah, that's the tail end of her season at the, if any overlap.
Yeah.
Okay, you mentioned the setback from the side and the fact that Codes had measured it as well. Somebody from Codes able to speak to that?
We've been told not to do anything with measuring, so it satisfied the planner at the time. She read the tape. She was standing there, helped put it down.
Okay. For those who are on,
I'm sorry.
what, would you just get up to the microphone? Yeah.
Thank you.
We've basically been told we don't know how to measure. We'd be putting things at risk if we measure. So the town planner was there. She read the tape. She can decide what it was.
You want to identify yourself?
Hi, Courtney. Tim
Hi.
from Codes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tim.
Okay. Does that satisfy your question?
Not really. I just would like to see it on a plan.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't
that's all.
think that's unreasonable to request.
So would
Yeah.
we be approving this on the condition that we have it and it meets this ordinance?
I think if we went through and didn't have any other questions, then yeah, I think that would be okay. I think if we look at where the farm stand is on the property. It's obviously, to me, in the most practical location. As long as it checks all the boxes of meeting the setbacks, I think it's in a great spot. It's utilizing existing parking. There was no really ground disturbance that was required. I don't know if you heard back from DOT. Speaking of cars?
No.
Okay,
I still haven't heard anything back yet.
all right.
All right. Well, we could certainly make that a condition of approval, that the location of the farm stand be added to the existing, what is it, the map,
Map of approval? Is that what it would be?
Site plan?
Site plan? Yeah.
the site plan that was used in the 2004 approval, which shows a 20-foot a minimum of a 20-foot setback.
Well, there's kind of 4 setbacks he's got to meet, I think. From the edge of the Harpswell Neck Road, from the edge of Schofield Place, from the western property boundary and the southern property boundary.
Okay,
There's a lot. And they kind of overlap each other.
all right, you see what we're getting at here?
Mostly, I think, yes.
Okay, we've got an existing site plan from the approval that we did in 2004. What we want you to do is to put the location of the farm stand on that shows that all of the setbacks are met in those 4 directions.
Okay, all right, that's easy enough. And all the setbacks for this is 20 feet in all directions because it's an accessory structure, or is that, I can go back and look at the
It's-
ordinances.
40 from the Harpswell Neck Road?
I think it really depends.
Right.
It could go either way. I think you could make an argument saying it's an accessory structure or an argument saying it's a principal structure.
Okay.
If it's a principal structure, it has to be 40
40
feet.
feet.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, all right.
All right.
I'd like to also raise the thing, and I don't know if this falls under our purview or not, but the application says, no utilities will be utilized. There's a refrigerator there are lights, so that needs utilities. So it's just not right. And to sell goods produced on the property, there's stuff in there that wasn't produced on the property. It doesn't mean that it's not okay to sell jam, but I kind of would like the application to be accurate for points like that.
As far as the utilities, there are no utilities powered directly to the stand, as far as it's not hardwired in. There's no plumbing, there's no electric that's
So are
coming
we
right off the road.
sending long extension cords somewhere?
Solar power,
There's solar power
Yeah.
yes,
on the roof?
yes.
Okay. Then maybe that should be part of the description of the proposed activity. Because it just says no utilities will be utilized. And I think of electricity as a utility, whether it's self-produced or not. I don't know, I just don't think this is accurate.
Okay, I can add that in.
Thank you.
I think it makes sense just to have it all match. I mean, that's what we really like to do, is have the application match the approval, so that, you know, when we look back and we say, well, he said he wasn't gonna have utilities, and now he's got solar panels, like, what's the difference?
Right.
I do love it when the records match.
Okay,
It makes it a lot easier for us in the future.
Totally.
okay, so as part of the condition of approval, we would change the application as well, right?
Yeah, but I'm not sure I want to approve it right now. I think I kind of want to get the i's dotted and the t's crossed before we approve.
Okay,
That would be other people may feel differently.
What else would you like to see, Debbie?
What I'd like to see an accurate map and an accurate description of what the structure is. And, yeah, I mean, this isn't accurate.
All right.
I'm more of a, I'd rather approve it with the conditions and have the codes office make sure that it meets the measurements and gets on the map. But that's just my
Okay.
2 cents.
Are there any other comments or questions from the board? Otherwise, I'll open it up to the, yeah, Courtney.
I would say I would agree with Heather, if there is a way to approve it, if it's just a question of adding the structure to the plan that was already there and also being accurate about the utilities. I mean, certainly good for you for using solar panels. But if it's possible for us to approve this without having to continue it, if it's really just a question of those 2 items, would you feel comfortable, Debbie?
No, you guys are, I'm not gonna approve it tonight. I would like to see this other stuff, but I recognize it's not just me,
Yeah.
so.
That's why we have 5 voting members on the planning
Right,
board.
exactly.
Okay. All right. Are there any questions from the audience or comments?
Hello, hello.
You have a,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hi. Hey, sorry, can you hear me? This is Eric
Yes.
Soul.
Yes.
Okay, all right, great. So, yeah, I just wanted to chime in and say that, yeah, we're in the other half of the house. We're the lot, map 1, lot 3. And, yeah, we're fine with it. You know, with the stand being there, we think it's great. It's a great addition to the house, to the farm, to the town. Yeah, there's nothing offensive about it. It's a beautiful structure. They took a lot of care in putting it together. So we're fans. I guess the only thing really at all that I take issue with is that the meeting that there were no abutters at is because we didn't receive a letter saying that it was happening until 2 days after it happened. Otherwise, I would have saved everybody a lot of time if I could have. But you know, that's neither here nor there. So, but that's our two cents. So you know, we think it's great. John's great. Solar's great. You know, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
All right.
All right. We have a motion made and seconded to approve the findings as submitted by the planner. Is there any further discussion?
Are you gonna go through each one, or no?
Is there a question on any of the, was there something that you had a
I
question
was
of?
gonna change 15.13, utilities and essential services. The standards met based on the finding that the farm stand will be serviced by solar panels.
All right.
And then, as far as lighting goes, we do have a standard about lighting. Do you have the lights on all night? Are they on a timer? Because there's no door or anything that you can close.
Right, they are, yes, they are on all night once it gets dark, and then daylight comes, they automatically shut off.
Because they're on a timer, or just because they run out of battery?
That's just how the system is. It's either they're on when it's dark or they're not on at all. There's no way to set a timer on this current system.
So there's lights on all night?
Yes.
All right, and do you think they're a distraction to motorists? I've never
I
heard of
I
it
don't
right
think
now.
so. They're relatively dim.
Okay.
They're
That's what I kind of thought.
not even as bright as these guys here.
It's subjective, but I drive by there frequently at night, and I haven't had an issue. And I struggle with odd lighting placement at night when I drive. So, as somebody who would usually take issue, I personally don't.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so then we would change that to the standard is met based on the finding that the exterior lighting on the site will not
The problem is
create,
it's interior lighting that shows to the exterior.
well, that,
It's all exterior.
is there It's all interior lighting, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, then that finding is correct, that there is no exterior lighting.
Sure.
Okay,
That'll work.
all right. And then the last, then that's it, correct?
I think so.
All right, with those additions made by the planner, there's a motion to accept the findings of fact, and it's been seconded. Are we ready for a vote?
With the understanding that we're gonna fill in those 4 X's, right?
The what?
The spots where I didn't know what the answer was?
The measurements.
Yes,
Okay,
and that will be in the conclusions.
okay.
All right? All right, Courtney,
Courtney Snelling's aye.
Jim,
Jim Babarski, aye.
Debbie Forrester, no.
Dan Hoback, aye.
Heather Allen, aye.
Motion passes 4-1. Now, conclusions of law. In light of these findings of fact and with consideration given to the supporting documentation in the record, I find the planning board reaches the following conclusions. The planning board finds that the applicant, John Dietland, has met the standards of the Town of Harpswell Site Plan Review Ordinance. The planning board approves the application and a site plan for the farm stand at 12 Schofield Place, which is map number 1, lot number 5, with the following standard conditions of approval. With the following conditions of approval. We're not going to call it standard here. The approval is not final until such time as final plans showing all conditions of approval and any waivers granted have been signed by the chair of the planning board. This approval is based on the approved plans and all submissions and information provided by the applicant at final approval, whether referenced in any findings or conditions of approval. 2, this approval is dependent upon and limited to the proposal and plans contained in the application and supporting documents submitted and affirmed to by the applicant. Any variation from the plans, proposals, and supporting documents except de minimis changes as determined by the town planner that do not affect approval standards is subject to the review and approval of the planning board prior to implementation. 3, the applicant shall obtain all necessary state and federal approvals before the applicant commences any land use activity pursuant to the site plan approval and shall comply with the requirements of those permits and approvals. 4, this permit is limited to site plan review. A separate blasting and/or site review or pit permit shall be obtained before any site plan. What?
So it's just copied from a different one, sorry.
Okay. I forget where I started with
Right.
number 4.
So we'll skip 4. Okay.
All right, number 5. New number 4, 1 copy of the notice of decision must be recorded by the applicant in the Cumberland County Registry of Deeds within 45 days of the approval, and the book and page number provided to the code enforcement officer. Failure of the applicant to record the notice of decision shall void the site plan approval. And number 5,
The location of the farm stand will be added to the site plan of the 2004 approval. Does that make sense?
yes, showing
Also showing the setbacks or something.
showing that the farm stands meets all applicable setback requirements.
You have to say the application of what? It was the location of Nance's shanty or whatever, right? When you just say the 2000 and whatever approval, I don't know what you're talking about.
The 2004 approval
Well, it's called, a little bit of the problem is the name of the business and the approval in 2004 and the name of the business now is different. So
So
which do
maybe
you
need to-
reference?
Maybe you need to reference both, like the site plan for this
The-
business is added to the 2004 approval of,
The location of the farm stand will be added to the site plan of the 2004 approval of the takeout stand. Can we call it a takeout stand?
Sure, you can call it whatever you want.
Well, what would you call it?
Yeah, yeah. Food
I mean,
stand.
if it had one name and now it has another name, you could say,
Well, we could
And now
reference
called
of
what?
Nancy's Seafood Shanty.
Sure, that's what it's called now.
Right,
Okay.
you could use
now
those.
known as.
That's a good way to word it.
Now known as, all right, but I can't scribble anymore, guys. Now known as Nancy's. All right. Location of the farm stand will be added to the site plan of the 2000, okay, added to
The approval of?
location of the farm stand will be added to the site plan, the 2004 site plan approval of the business now known as Nance's Seafood Shanty. The revised site plan will show that the farm stand meets all applicable setbacks.
Okay.
And then you need to add something for the description in the application?
7, well,
It technically will be 6 though, but yes.
right. I feel like
Yeah.
if we put that in the notice of decision, it'll be confusing. I will just update it before I
Okay.
I
Okay.
write the notice of decision based on the information given to us in the site plan.
Yeah.
Does that work?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. The proposed conclusions of law have been approved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? If not, Courtney,
Courtney Snelling's aye.
Jim,
Jim Babarski, aye.
Debbie Forrester, no.
Dan Hoback, aye.
Heather Allen, aye.
The motion passes 4-1. Congratulations. We'll, once once everything is put together, I will sign it, and then it can be recorded.
Okay. On the revised application that I'll be doing, I believe that has a letter of authorization for the property owner to sign.
Yeah.
Do you need me to re-sign that or just refill out?
You don't have to do
Update.
anything but I'll get you a copy of this, or I can email it to you.
Okay.
And then you're just gonna put your plan, your location on top of this plan.
Right.
If that works for you, that's all.
Okay.
That's it.
Excellent.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations on your farm stand. It looks really nice.
All right. Next up, planners update. You have the 6/18 workshop recap.
Yeah, what was that workshop about?
Really, I think just
It
about
was
us.
an introduction to
Yeah.
being on the
Oh,
planning
yes.
board.
We don't put minutes, we don't do minutes for workshops, so it's important that we just put it in the record somewhere else.
Right.
Dan, will you tell us about that workshop?
Yeah,
All the members were there.
yeah. All the members of the planning board, including the alternates, were at the workshop. The main purpose of which was to, because we have a number of new members of the planning board, was to introduce ourselves, get to know each other a little bit, and also talk about generally how the planning board works, requirements of congeniality, confidentiality, lack of conflict of interest, all those kinds of things that allow us to be able to act in a very responsible and public way to see to it that as much as possible, people have confidence with the fact that we take our job seriously. All right. I think that we had also talked about the minutes.
We deferred from the last meeting, yes.
Right. So we're going to defer those to the August meeting?
Unless somebody wants to tell me that they've read them and they have comments.
I have not read them.
I have no comments.
I have read them, I have no comment.
You have read them?
I've glanced at them. Some of them, one of
Okay,
them
I
was
think
before
we-
my time,
Okay,
Oh.
we,
which
Yeah.
I think is, I take no responsibility for.
there you go. Okay, well, at that point then, I think we ought to have an opportunity to make sure that we've read them.
Okay,
And then we will deal with those.
okay, so we'll deal with them at the August meeting.
All right.
It's busy.
So anything else from the planner?
I don't know, I'm feeling a little at the end of my mental rope for tonight.
Okay, well, you know.
Not to
but-
put that in the
But the
record,
one
but-
thing that, well,
I got a whole bunch of things going on. We've had two Bowdoin Fellows this summer. It's been really fun. They've been working on some projects to do with the Resiliency Committee, some grants. That's been really cool. We'll be rolling out a survey to do with groundwater and septics in the next week. It's just about finished, and then we'll be wrapping up this other project about future flood risk. This big, cool mapping engineering project, and that'll be wrapping up, so you'll be seeing the tail end of the results of that survey or
Yeah.
study. Yeah, that's
Okay.
mostly it.
yeah, and then upcoming will be our site walks in August.
And we were gonna schedule a second planning board meeting. I emailed everybody today to try to figure out what day. Looks like it'll be the evening sometime that week. And we're gonna talk about some ordinance amendments that we're hoping to get on the November ballot, basically.
Yeah.
Do like a special town meeting to review some ordinance amendments.
See, you did have something else. You just need
I
to
have
be.
a lot to say, I just.
Yeah, I get it.
I feel like I've already said
It's been a long day. Anything else from members of the board?
Nope.
If not, this meeting is adjourned, and you can turn it off.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, great sound, thank you.
All right. We did it, guys. That was so early. What, is that from your shoot? Oh my gosh. I feel like I've had issues like that before. Look, I lost.
Exactly the reason why we have 5 members of the board.
I mean, I will tell you the first time I voted differently, I was kind of like, oh, this is weird. So I think it's good.
It is.
The application was like slapstick.
And that's one of the reasons